So, Chris, what was it like working with Dave Grohl in particular during the Foo Fighter sessions?
I only really hung out with Dave in the studio. I did meet the rest of them. Pat Smear came down and Nate came down. In fact, that was the only guys in the band at that point because it was a four-piece at that point, wasn't it? Because William had left. This was the other thing. I got a phone call, actually, maybe like 3 days into working, saying, had I seen William? Because he had actually sort of left and decided that, he didn't really want to be involved anymore. And I think he'd popped in once or something like that, very briefly. I said, no, I don't know where he is. And it got resolved in the end, and it wasn't my place to start, talking about that. But so the first time I met Dave, and it's kind of a funny story, actually. I was in the studio, and again, if people who have done what I do will understand this, that you sometimes want to listen to a familiar piece of music in an unfamiliar place to give you an idea of how a room sounds. So I was very familiar with Nevermind at the time. It was obviously a massively popular record and everybody loved it, and it sounded fantastic and exciting. So I was in at Skip Sailor and I had it on the CD player cranked, and I'm listening to it. Okay, right, it's this amount of bottom end or blah blah blah. And as I'm doing that, I suddenly turn around and I'm aware that behind me is Dave Grohl, and I'm thinking, wow, this is embarrassing. And so I just said, oh man, I said, this is really embarrassing. I said, I just wanted to hear what the room sounded like. And he goes, no, it's fine. It's a great record. Of course you can. I was like, and so it was this was my introduction to Dave. And he was lovely. He was, he's really easy to work with. And any changes we had to make, he was specific at the beginning in the mixing. The one thing he was very specific about is compression on drums. He did not want compression on drums, which has a certain sound, and particularly a sound of the 90s, a real whack you get on the snare drum, which you get from using a compressor. And he did not want that to happen. He didn't want it on the drum. So I had to find a way, and it's a very default setting for a lot of mixing engineers to use compression on a snare drum. So I had to find a way around it, which is fine, but that was kind of it. Apart from that, he was just get on with it. He was fine. And Pat came down and Nate came down, and they just really just to say hello and have a listen. And they were so busy recording right to the last minute.
It's funny you mentioned Nevermind because I was actually I wanted to ask you a Nirvana related question. It's because this was in '97 or like late '96, early '97 when this recording was happening.
Mhm.
Nirvana, I mean, obviously just ended less than 3 years prior. Was there any sort of like Nirvana hangover kind of a feeling going on with the band?
No, not at all. I mean, the only thing that was the same really was same manager, John Silver, who again I'd worked with a long time ago with a band, so we had a nice relationship anyway, and John had managed Nirvana. So that was the only thing. I mean, it was never really talked about. I mean, maybe they talked about it some more in the recording when they're in the recording studio and talking about stuff. I don't know, but no, not at all. It was not. This was like a whole new thing.
Okay, that's good to hear because I always 'cause I'm very familiar with Nirvana, but I'm not as familiar with the Foo Fighters, and I've always heard that, especially in the beginning of the Fighters, there was a lot of people who were upset at Dave for actually having started a new band right away.
I can imagine there probably were. I mean, people get upset for the weirdest things, and also people get very proprietorial about music. You know what it's like. It's like you find some new band, and then they have a hit record, and it's like, this is no good. This is my band. I love this. People don't like change. And they say it's like, no. You did Nirvana. You can't do anything else. Certainly not play guitar. But no, there was nothing like that at all. It was very, and I say I was there to do a job, and just get on with it. It was pretty easy, to be honest with you.
That's awesome. And was there you touched on it a little bit? Was there any tension at all with the whole William situation going on during this session?
No, not at all. I say again, they kept that very much to the recording studio side of things. So that was that gang, you know. In the mixing studio, so it was a separate place. No, not at all. When they came down for that, that's all was talked about. I say, apart from, I got this phone call just saying, had I seen William? And I was like, no, I haven't seen William at all. I don't know. So that wasn't talked about. It was just, you know, so it was a very, people have asked me before about it, you know, and it was actually a very straightforward record to mix. It was a lot of fun to mix because the songs were great. And I was given pretty much free rein to get on with it. You know, there wasn't anybody hanging over my shoulder or anything. So again, a lot of it was because they were still recording, so they couldn't anyway. They had to get stuff finished. Gil Norton, who produced the record, is a really old friend of mine, and we had worked together previously on a few records and bits and pieces, and we shared the same management as it was. So I knew that Gil was doing the record, and I didn't expect to be involved at all, actually. And I got a call. It was in January when I got the call to ask if I go to LA to help with the mixing. Now, I knew that they'd done some recording because Gil sort of brought me up to speed, and they'd basically done a bunch of recording. I think it was at Bearsville, I think. I'm not quite sure. And again, from what I understand, is they'd done a bunch of recording. This was with William playing drums. And they decided that for whatever reason, some things weren't cutting it. And, you know, and William's drums was one of them. I mean, you know, playing the drums in the Foo Fighters would be nerve-wracking enough, you know what I mean? Can you imagine? You know, sort of. Anyway, I was not involved in any of that stuff. So when I got involved was, I think it was January '77, I think. Sorry, '97. Yeah, that'd be really old. Right? Yeah. And they were still recording then. So when I came over, they were. You know, it was an interesting setup because they were still recording because they were kind of falling behind a bit because they'd obviously taken the executive decision to redo the drums. Although I think William played on a couple of the tracks, I think. I'm trying to remember. I think he played on the opening song, Doll, I think. Anyway, so they were still recording. So what was happening was that as they were finishing the recordings, they would get me the tracks to mix. So it was sort of, they'd be super busy working till 3 a.m, trying to get these things finished because I was only going to be there for, I guess, a limited time. I think I was in LA for like 3 weeks or something like that. So, so they say William departed. In fact, I don't think I met William. I may have done. I think he may have come down once, I think, because I can't really remember, but he came down to the studio because they were in a different studio recording with Brad, you know, and you know, I didn't actually meet any of them for a couple of days.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe for more because there is a lot more to come. All the videos on my channel are original. I'm the one filming, editing, and conducting all the interviews. So if you guys like what you see and you want to support, the best way to do so is honestly just to subscribe. Thanks for watching.